What's up, everybody? This is the NQ4625 review and outlook. It's been a long time since we've done an outlook. I think since March 9th, I believe. So go back and watch that video before you watch this one because we've had a lot of developments. So for the review, though, looking at the NQ1 chart, which is the futures chart, but I'm actually using the CFDs chart, so the NOS 100 chart, which I'll show here in a second. But the bias and all of the price action is still the same. Micro bias, we were bearish. Initial liquidity grab was unsuccessful in the bias conversion from bearish to bullish price action, which is what we talked about in the last review. And then the next target that we had marked up was 18,873.25, which is this low here. And I told you why that was going to be, why that was the next logical structural point target, and then went ahead and marked up the potential next target if we were to have a breaker structure and continue, right? So what we ended up happening was exactly that. We cleared easily that 18,873 target, but I want to note that we are on the CFD chart now. So about 18,312 is what it's showing as the points, and then we ended up actually clearing both of the targets at 18,312 and then 17,276, I believe, and I'll show it on the live charts here soon. So we ended up clearing both of those targets. It was actually my largest profitable day. Took 3 positions on a swing trade to go towards this first target. I was not expecting price to continue today towards that second target, but I'm content with the profit that I made aiming for this first target. So now let's go ahead and go over those. What's going on? All right. So for position 1, entered in off of a 10-second sponsored candle play that was a part of a mitigation of a 15-minute sponsored candle that I missed. So I ended up catching the conservative entry off of this play, finding, the point of interest / sponsored candle that sparked the move, refining, and ended up being a 10-second sponsored candle. And that ended up being towards that target a 31 RR trade, which was a great trade. Then position 2 ended up mitigating just a few points after 100 or so points afterwards, a 6-minute 50% inefficient pricing. Entered off the 6-minute 50%, stop loss just below or just above where it's located, and then same target, another great trade that was 21-1. And then position 3 happened to be a 15-second sponsored candle mitigation off of a liquidity grab, and I actually didn't get in at the 15-second sponsored candle. I actually got in a little bit lower, priced in a little bit lower, which is totally fine, and that one ended up running the target as well, and this was a 26-1. So I'm showing where I got in about 18,535, and I had a stop loss just above the 15-second, but you can clearly see the liquidity grab here. And then we got the price action, breaker structure, pullback, 15-second, which was identified, got an entry, run. All right. So let's actually go ahead and go over to the charts here and see exactly what we were looking at from the top-down analysis. So like I said, on the daily, we were still bearish, despite everyone thinking that we were going to look for a continuation or a transition from bearish to bullish price action. It showed no signs to me of slowing down. We are definitely in the bearish run phase of the market. This right here, this correction was the only thing that probably tripped a lot of people up. But as I said, it's a correction in the market to mitigate whatever the heck it needed to mitigate. And then we got the continuation of price action to the downside. So we ended up mitigating our first target, which is what we called out, and then we marked out the second target and said that would be the next logical structural point to mitigate, and price decided to go ahead and mitigate both, which was awesome to see. But let's go ahead and go over each of these positions. So for the first position, as I said, it was a 15-minute play. That was refined because I missed the first play. So I actually ended up taking one trade off of a 9-minute sponsor candle inside of this wick, mitigated that, and after it mitigated that, and I tagged this as my target. That was a short trade because I was skeptical of the price action, seeing, this large area of inefficient pricing. But then when I zoomed out, I was like, oh no, this isn't really inefficient pricing to me because it's a part of this balancing of all this bullish price action here. So this was the logical place to look for trade after consolidation once the market opened, and seeing that this was the last potential area. And I'll go ahead and show it so it's crystal clear. Yeah, so this was the last potential area before price, decided to continue with the program. And so I saw this 9-minute sponsored candle, entered in off of it, had a short-term target here, so it was about, off the open, so about 127 points or so, which was a solid trade, or about 1,270 pips. Solid trade, but I was skeptical of it. And then once I got a little bit more information after seeing, the break of structure, failure, continuation, unsupported run, and then we pulled back, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is definitely going to continue from here. There's no reason for price to go up higher. And so I saw this mitigation of this 15-minute sponsor candle. It's more clear here, a 15-minute sponsor candle, but I wasn't able to get into that particular trade. So what's the next best thing? Conservative entry. So, and that's what we ended up getting, was that 10-second. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. We ended up getting that 10-second entry. Let's see if we get over there. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So yeah, we got the 15-minute mitigation. Price action on the 10-second looks like this. And we see the 10-second sponsor candle that was created. And so took a trade off of that. And then you can see clearly that there was a bunch more opportunity to get into this trade afterwards, especially if you didn't have the 10-second, and the 1 minute was your lowest time frame that you could look at, then you would be looking at something like this. But it was clear to me why I chose this area. Like I said before, got mitigation, unsupported price run, failed to come up and mitigate something here. We see that there's inefficient pricing in this area between here, but it was sparked by the origin of the move, which was this wick that had some sort of liquidity grab of this high right here, this just small internal high. I'll mark it up there. So that liquidity grab sparked this move. So the inefficiency, even though it's valid, I would have looked at the wick because I need to look inside of there, and it was resolved into a 10-minute sponsor candle. And that's what sparked the move, not the inefficient pricing. The inefficient pricing is just a part of it. And so as you can see, price did come up and mitigate 50% of the inefficient pricing, but that wasn't the origin of the move, hence the reason why I chose that area for my first position. And we ended up mitigating that. And then as you can see on the 1 minute, if you missed that, you would have had, multiple opportunity. 1 minute sponsor candle there. And I'm just going to be pointing out, sponsor candle there, whatever. Cool. So ended up first position, and then we got in on the second position just a few, minutes later on the 6-minute inefficient pricing. Same ordeal. We got a break of structure created by inefficient pricing, entered at 50%, and then we continue with the program. And then ultimately didn't look to add a third position, but it was too good to pass up. We had, stall out of price action here, get some consolidation. Price ran this high, which was a liquidity grab. And once we grabbed liquidity there, we broke structure to the downside based off of this candle, this green candle here that's marked up. And so that automatically became my point of interest after we broke structure here. Okay, so once we broke structure, then this candle here became my point of interest. And so once I do that, that's when I start looking in to see if I can refine this area. And that's when we got down to, what did I say, it was a 15-second entry. Yeah, 15-second. And ended up resolving it into a 15-second sponsored candle. As you can clearly see, with price CSAT, once you find the origin of that move, price is definitely going to respect it. And so, like I said, I got into the trade, but I was priced lower, so I ended up getting into like 18,535, which is totally fine. But, it would have been great to see, 50, 60 to 1 trade, but whatever. Got that third position, and ultimately, every single one of those positions ran towards our target of 18,312.75. Then we got a pullback, but I collapsed all my trades, obviously, at my target, and price decided to go ahead and run another 1,000+ points on the day. So ultimately, this was a great trading or swing trade. It was my most profitable day ever. $43,000 profit off of this trade, which was consisted of those three positions. And yeah, so I'm looking to continue to grow my account and continue to keep, trading. Now, as far as the outlook goes, let's go ahead and get back over here. We're still bearish. Simple as that, right? There's no reason to try to generate some sort of narrative that we are about to transition to bullish price action. Just going to continue the program, right? So once again, we cleared this potential low. It seems as of right now we have a liquidity grab, but we're going to need more price action and more data to support that if there will be reversal. If not, we'll look on the micro perspective for continuation plays. And if that is the case, well, let's go ahead and clear the charts now and mark up the next area. So, like I said, we clear those targets. So the next logical structural point would be this one. Then the next one after that would be here. And the next one after that would be there. Right? So keep it simple in the macro perspective. These are the next logical targets for continuation to the downside if we continue this bearish run, which seems highly likely. And yeah, no need to overanalyze that. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.